If you were building a panic room, you'd want it to be totally impenetrable, right? Like steel walls, reinforced doors, completely sealed off.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolute safety.
But, well, what if you lock yourself inside and forget to install a ventilation system? That ultimate protection becomes the exact thing that suffocates you.
Right, it completely backfires.
Exactly. And welcome to this custom deep dive, by the way, because that suffocating panic room is exactly what happened to a guy named Alyoshin in Anton Chekhov's 1898 short story about love.
It is such a fascinating text to unpack.
It really is. So our mission today is to explore how social decorum creates emotional paralysis. We're looking at Alyoshin, this educated landowner who recounts his unspoken, just totally suffocating love for a married woman named Anna, and he basically over-intellectualizes his desire into nothing.
He really does. And, to understand his paralysis, we first need to look at the structural cage Chekhov built around him. About Love is actually the final piece of Chekhov's famous little trilogy.
Right, I remember that from the research.
Yeah, and throughout these three stories, there's this recurring motif of the futlyar, which means the case. In the earlier stories, characters use literal physical cases to hide from the world, like umbrellas or dark glasses.
Just literally shielding themselves.
Exactly. But by this final story, the case becomes entirely psychological. Alyoshin constructs a case for feelings out of his own intense moral scrupulousness and, honestly, an absolute terror of social scandal.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's like he builds an invisible suit of emotional armor to protect his social standing, but it ends up completely suffocating him.
That is a perfect analogy. He analyzes the risk until the feeling just dies. And this tension wasn't purely theoretical for Chekhov either.
Wait, really?
Yeah. According to some historical literary gossip, a writer named Lydia Avalova claimed this story mirrored her own secret romance with Chekhov. She pointed out that he once signed a letter to her using the protagonist's name, Alyoshin.
Oh, wow. That is wild. So Chekhov definitely knew the feeling, but he doesn't let his protagonist off the hook at all.
No, he really rubs his face in it.
Right, by putting this hyper-repressed guy right next to this raw, lower-class passion.
Exactly. It's a glaring domestic foil. On Alyoshin's estate, there's a servant, Pelageya, who is hopelessly devoted to Nicanor, the cook. And Nicanor is violent, he drinks heavily, and he demands they get legally married because of his strict religious rules.
But she won't do it, right?
Right, Pelageya refuses to marry an abuser, but she stays with him out of sheer messy passion. It violates all the social rules of the time, but it's undeniably real. Seeing this chaotic love forces Alyoshin to confront how sterile his own life actually is.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Alyoshin watches these servants and claims he needs to take a diagnostic approach to love.
Yes, like he's a doctor treating a disease.
Yeah. But isn't he a totally unreliable narrator? I mean, he literally never talks to Anna about this. For years, they just sit in silence. Isn't he just projecting his own fear onto her to justify his cowardice?
He is entirely projecting. He assumes she shares his exact internal monologue, worrying about her husband and kids without a single shred of verbal confirmation. He reads her mind just to protect himself.
Which is so frustrating.
It is. And this all shatters in the story's climax. Anna is leaving for Crimea forever. They're in this claustrophobic train compartment. The whistle is about to blow. And in that tiny space, his defenses finally crack.
And he confesses his love.
Yes. He has this sudden epiphany that you cannot logic your way through love.
But he still lets her go. He gets this massive realization and then just steps off the train. He chooses safety.
He does. He goes back to his empty estate, pacing in his own words like a squirrel in a cage.
It's tragic, sure, but let's neutrally report on the modern feminist critique here, because the privilege at play is massive.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, if he acts on his feelings, he gets some nasty gossip. But if Anna leaves her husband, she loses her children entirely and faces total social ruin. The text kind of reduces her to a passive prop for his angst.
It's a vital distinction. Alyoshin's cage is self-imposed, but Anna's is enforced by the brutal double standards of 19th century society.
So he traps himself. But how does his emotional stalemate end up changing modern literature?
Well, fast forward to Raymond Carver's What We Talk About When We Talk About Love. Carver borrowed heavily from Chekhov's nested narrative structure here.
Meaning a story told within another story.
Right. And Carver also utilized Chekhov's signature zero ending.
Meaning there's no neat, tidy bow at the end. It just abruptly stops.
Precisely. The character is left suspended in unresolved disquiet.
Wow. So what does this all mean for you listening to this? I think it's a stark reminder of the steep cost of overthinking your own life.
Absolutely. Chekhov demonstrates how silence allows us to project our own romantic ideals onto someone else.
Which really leaves you wondering how many of our own profound relationships are actually just conversations we're having entirely with ourselves.
Such a powerful thought.